Hey everyone, welcome to a slightly different style of video. This is going to be kind of a screencast, just showing you how I am going to go about building a project that I've had an idea for quite a while. I'll talk about the idea as we go through the video. And yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually watch this at the time that it's released over on justdjango.com. So if you want to support me and the channel and everything that I do, then link is in the description. And yeah, other than that, let's get into this project. So basically the idea is to build something that, it's going to be kind of an AI-based project, or leveraging AI to solve this problem of basically developers not being able to upskill fast enough. I heard this very interesting take or concept that basically there's not, you can be doing tutorials for as long as you want, or doing courses, or any kind of learning that we're used to online for as long as you want, but really you're not going to get to the level that you want to get at with the current form of education, essentially. Not to say that the education is bad, but we kind of have this gap where we have too many people that are starting out or are junior developers and want to become or need to become senior developers, because that's where most of the job opportunities are. That's what the market expects, I think, as of right now, a lot more than maybe a couple of years ago, as companies are only really looking for developers who know what they're doing. They're not really interested in my experience, not really interested in teaching you or taking you from a very junior level to a senior level. So the point being that if you want to kind of close that gap, it's very difficult at the moment with the resources that are available, and we need some kind of way to accelerate the learning. And I think there are some avenues that are promising, and one of those is this idea of AI has obviously exploded in the last few months. You can ask ChatGPT anything and it will basically teach you whatever that thing is that you ask it. Of course, all the caveats around that with hallucination and just not really having accurate information. For example, like with the Zig programming language, because Zig is so new and there's been so many language syntax changes, it's basically unreliable. You can't use any suggestion from whether it's GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT. It's just all nonsense. So there are some caveats, but on the more sort of stable things, like Django, for example, hasn't really changed much. In that kind of situation, it's mostly pretty good in my experience. And so really what the aim here is to try and build a project that any person, any developer can take and use to upskill themselves by leveraging AI. And so I'm going to be outlining kind of the architecture at a very sort of simple level. I don't think we need to spend too much time doing that, and we can always change that over time. But yeah, so let me get into what I think this is going to look like. So let's just draw some boxes. Okay, and then we need some text. So let's start with a web app. Okay, so the web app is going to be the interface for everyone to use the application, obviously. This is just going to be Next.js, just because it's the easiest to get started. I don't think we need to spend too much time on that. Then we're going to have the database. All right, now this is going to be our main database, I should say. And the point being that most of the data. This could be like, user accounts, sort of general application data, anything that has a CRUD on top of it is going to go inside this database. Then we're going to have a vector database, and this is separate because vector DBs are particularly good at doing, I'd say, one job of storing these embeddings and then allowing you to leverage those embeddings for other kinds of like searches or similarity lookups. And in my experience so far, it's better to separate this out from the main database. Just allows you to scale them separately. So I want to have this from the beginning. I don't want to split them as I'm going throughout the project. So I'm going to set it up like this from the beginning. So these are going to be the two databases. Let's just actually keep it where it is. Okay, so we have the databases, and then the last piece here is going to be basically, actually there's two more pieces, I should say. So as of right now, I believe I'm going to use min.io, which is basically an S3 compatible service for storing files, which happens to be or claims to be suited for AI and data lakes, I think, and that sort of problems space. But I'll explain more about why we're looking at doing this. So min.io is one of the services, and then we need also another service for, this is going to be for like tasks, essentially, like long jobs. And the reason being, we're going to need to process quite a bit of data, and you're not going to be able to process that in a standard web request. So we need some kind of like background jobs to help us do that. And we're going to make use of a tool called trigger.dev. So this is something I've been playing with for a little bit. Basically just background jobs framework for TypeScript. When I played with it the first time around, I really liked it, and I can talk about this for quite a bit of time. So I'm going to use this just to start out. And one of the other reasons is because if I go to the docs here, it's their integrations section. So they have built-in integrations with, for example, like GitHub here. And so like you create a GitHub integration, you define a job, and you can create triggers that listen for different kinds of events. And in this case, they're just giving an example of an on issue opened that for this owner and this repo, that it'll trigger this basically to run this code. And that's pretty cool, is that I can at least I can straight off the bat start using integrations like GitHub, which is what I'm planning to do. So that helps quite a lot, and it basically saves time in having to build that. And then the vector database I'm going to use is this Milvis. I'm not really married to any particular database. I'm just going with things that I've heard good things about and looked at. So I'm going to try use this. Most of these tools, if not all of them, are all open source, which means that you can self-host them. So when it comes to deployment, I'm most likely going to kind of make this configured in such a way that it's self-hostable. And then min.io is the other one here. So object storage. Yeah, you can look through this. I believe if we go to the docs, I think they do have a Docker file that you can use. But yeah, so I'll need to look at that as well. Okay, so this is the architecture as of right now. It's nothing crazy, and just maybe I can add here. This is going to be trigger.dev, which is going to be for those long tasks. And interestingly enough, the code or the architecture, let me see, I think it's explained here. Yeah. So the architecture is quite interesting for trigger.dev because, so here's the trigger.dev platform, or your instance of trigger.dev that you're self-hosting. And it basically has the orchestration configured, so it handles listening for events and triggering different jobs to start. And as an example here, it's like if there's a GitHub issues webhook, it triggers something, which then runs this code, but it runs it in your app. So it's not actually, at least how I understand it, it's not a true serverless architecture in that it's not going to spin up resources to run just for that job. It's actually running kind of using some kind of events with your main app to trigger code to run on your main app, and it leverages that. Which the whole point of this is so that you can have these tasks that bypass the time limit on serverless workers, I guess. Like I think it's 15 minutes is the max that it can go. So that way you're basically just always running code on your app. But yeah, so that's just something interesting about how this is set up. And yeah, so there's maybe one other thing I can mention is this SHAD-C, I don't know how to pronounce this. Basically a set of components for, I believe it's only Next.js, but or React. Okay, so they've actually got quite a few other integrations here, but yeah. So I'm going with Next.js. I'm just going to base it off of this command to generate the project, and then I'm basically going to install all the components so that I don't have to keep coming back and installing different components. And this is also just to get up and running and have something usable, because otherwise you spend so much time just writing components. So, okay, let's open up VS Code. All right, so I'm in my folder here, and let's just go and do this. I'm gonna need to install some stuff. I'm in two minds about the app router. I don't know if I'm 100% there. You know what, actually, before we do this, I'm going to use the create T3 app. Because I really prefer TRPC. Okay, so here's installation. And just make sure nothing's there. Alright, so the reason why I prefer not only TRPC but the T3 stack in general, it's just because it configures everything for you. I mean, you've got Prisma if you choose Prisma. You've got your, the TRPC layer handled. You've got, obviously it's TypeScript configured. Let's call it Tailwind, TRPC, yep. Next auth, yeah, that's another thing. I mean, have to. Prisma, and yep, and yep, and yep. Okay, so that basically configures everything right off the bat. Authentication's done, database layer's done, Tailwind styling, TRPC is just the best thing ever invented. And the only thing to go from that is, in terms of the styling with ShadCN and stuff, is this initialization here. So I need this. I think this might take a bit. So this is basically like a component, not a library, but like a CLI to install components from Radix or Rad, I don't know how to pronounce, I think Radix UI. So you have these components, and this is basically a flavor of those components. So you can then have a components folder with all these components inside there, and then if you want to add new ones, then you just click add. Add whatever the name of the component is button, right? So that you can install all these components here. And there's quite a lot. So I think there is a way to install everything. Maybe there isn't. No, I think you actually got to do all of them one by one. Yeah. Okay. I think it's going to be set up with, actually, just take a check here. DB push. DB push is Prisma DB push. And if I go to the schema, yeah, it just sets you up with SQLite for the time being, which is, it's okay. But we, just for the moment, but we're going to change this to Postgres as well. So, okay. We're in there. Okay, and then the next step here was npm run dev. Okay. What I'm going to do is open that folder in here. Okay. Invalid environment variables. Okay. So I'll need to just get rid of the Discord part, because I think I'm just going to use GitHub as well. Let's open this in Safari. All right. So, okay. Everything's running there. So I'm basically going to explain now what I'm actually going to do. So like this is all just tech stuff, but the problem that I'm going to solve, I also still need to do this thing. So let me do that in the meantime. Basically, what I want to do is build this application where you can take a GitHub repository and you can let AI teach you, whether it's how to build that application, or I'm just going with defaults here. Actually, this is important. This is source styles. So this is Tailwind config.ts. Add components. I think it's going to be like that. Let's see where it goes. This is going to be libutils React Server components, I don't think I'm using that. Components JSON, yeah. Let's see where that goes. I think it's actually going to... Okay, it did put it in the source folder, so that's good. I don't have any components installed right now, but if I go back, let's say... Oh, hold on. You're presented with a list of all options to choose from. Okay, yes. Let's try it exactly like that. No? Space to select. A to toggle all. Yeah, there we go. Yes. Okay. That's what I wanted. So basically, now that this is moving, we can close some of this as well. We're going to select a GitHub repository, and the idea is for you to be able to take a GitHub repository and effectively use this tool to teach yourself whether, whatever your objective is, like how something works, how to build something yourself, how to replicate some logic. Like, for example, maybe there's like a package that handles OAuth 2, let's say, and you want to learn how to do that, right? How do you implement OAuth 2? So you'll go and take that repository, select it effectively in like the app, and basically just say, okay, take this repository and teach me about it. Now, and to be able to do that, we're going to need to process all the files. So let's just write some stuff down here. So you select a repository. Actually, we can just do this. 2 is going to be process the files, right? So by that, I mean go through all the files of significance in the repository and processing them, as in effectively embedding them, so in the vector database. The reason, that's why we have the vector database in the first place, but the reason for min.io is to actually store the files themselves, because this is like S3, or supports S3. So I'm going to use it in the sense that I want to store all the files in this S3 bucket. And the point is so that I have them on hand, right? Because I need to have them somewhere. And so that's going to be its own thing, is actually when you select the repository, how do we get all the files? So there's going to have to be some sort of get stuff that we're going to need to do to say, like, okay, you've fetched this, you've selected this repository, clone the repository, right, and go through all the files and process each file and store those files in S3. I think that's going to be the way we have to do it. So you process, you've effectively downloaded all the files, store them in S3. I should put that like this: store like repo in min.io, and then step 3 is going to be like process each file, right? Or embed each file. So it's going to be like, I'll just say embed for now, but I think it's going to be more than that. So embed file in VectorDB. Right. This is so that you can query, right, that file later. So for example, if you have some JSX file that you want to understand better, then you can say in the app, if you imagine this, you could select the file you want to query or use or in technical terms, use as context in your prompt to OpenAI or whatever LLM you use. And so you can select the file and say, I want to use this particular file, and explain to me what this does, or explain to me how this works, something like that. So that's one way to do it, is to actually say, here's the file, and then, since we're storing the actual file ourselves, we can just pull the file out of S3. The other option is, since we're storing the embedding, you can just do a question right on the vector DB to pull that information, and then you've sort of got an answer from the vector DB, which you can then also add as context to the prompt, right? Depending on how you want to do it. So yeah, okay, embed the file in vector DB, and that is so that's basically the first, I would call it the first real challenge of the setup here, is selecting the repository, storing everything, embedding everything. All right, this is like the big background job that is the reason for why I have this trigger.dev. Now the question will be around this part of selecting the repository, which is effectively downloading. So we're going to have some kind of service on, I would imagine, on this layer here of the web app or trigger.dev. But I say both because trigger.dev is effectively just an orchestration, and all the code is actually run on the web app. So the service that downloads the files from Git will have to be on here. And I've considered like maybe using some kind of serverless service to run that part, but I'm just keeping it simple for now. So basically, it'll get downloaded on the web app. This is all in a task, as triggered by trigger.dev. So this task runs, downloads the whole repo, stores everything in min.io, loops through all the files, embeds all the files in vector DB. That is the first step here. Once we have all of that done, I say the first step, but this is already a lot. Then we're going to have like a sort of second kind of batch of things that need to happen here. So then we need to be able to like prompt things. So like prompt against the DB, maybe select files as context, like raw context maybe. Yeah, so there's all sorts of like different prompts. All right. Now, okay. That's going to come later, because at the moment I'm basically just doing this. All right. That if we can just get that done, that's already a big part. Let's check back in here. Okay, so there's all our components. Very nice. I'm going to go ahead and just commit everything, just so that everything is there. I think that didn't actually get everything. Yeah. All right. I don't actually have the repository set up yet, so I'll do that as soon as this video is done. And by the way, this is going to be called combat training, and I'll maybe explain the reason a little bit later, because I think it's easier when you see it than, or it's better if you see it than me explaining it. So Okay, that's all of the architecture and what we're going for right now. Yeah, next thing would be kind of a few sort of smaller details, just in terms of what I'm going to do next. Is, we have to change this from SQLite to Postgres, and I also want to set up then like the Docker file or Docker Compose maybe to store the service for min.io and for the Postgres database as well, since it's always easier to store everything in Docker. I don't like you running a Postgres database locally. What else? And the vector DB, which I need to then go through how this is done. This is open source here, and they also have Docker Compose, but they have, understandably, they have their own Docker Compose YAML file. I can actually download this. All right, so that downloads the file. Okay, so I've got the file here, and then let's head back into VS Code. And I wonder if I should do, let's just call it services. Okay, so this is the Milvus standalone Docker Compose. So they've got a bunch of things here. I don't know what that is. The core OS, something of theirs. Or, no, probably not theirs, but yeah, so that's something. Oh, min.io. Oh, that's great. I wonder if, I could probably, that is funny, isn't it? I wonder if I took this and just put this as my own as well. So then, okay, you got that, you got standalone. Now I'm wondering if I don't even need it, since they've got one here anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna think about that. Okay, standalone image. So this is like their, the server or something. Okay, let's go and build that so long. So this is going to be inside services, Docker Compose up. Oh, that was not right. Okay, let that go. Come back next year when that's done. So, okay, that was good. So that's getting set up. What else? Now I don't think I'm going to set this up just yet, because I could probably leverage. I don't know if, yeah, maybe they'll shout at me if I'm leveraging this. Although I think that would solve some of my problems here, because if they're using this to store the files, or to store whatever they're using it to store, makes sense that I can just also store my things in here. Okay. min.io, this I think is done. I don't think there's anything else I need to do here. And trigger.dev we can go get set up as well. This is, yeah, so basically you need to, I'm not going to self-host it right yet, because then I actually have to pay for it to run somewhere. But it's free to use in local development. You just need an account, which is going to be easier than like going and setting up my own trigger.dev. If I were deploying this, then I would go and do that. So I'm just going to go log in. All right, so now I'm in. I've logged in and I've created my organization. And I'm just going to follow the commands here. All right, so where's my VS Code? Yeah, so next, once this is installed, you basically just run dev like your normal Next.js app, and then you have this command to run trigger, which for me, it's easier to just add this to the package.json file. I ran this in the wrong folder. There we go. Okay. And I think this Milvus is also done. I just need to add some stuff to the git ignore so that we don't store all sorts of stuff in there. So this is going to be services volumes. All right, we don't want any of that going in the repository. And yeah, next thing I'm going to do is go to package.json, and then I'm going to add here trigger. All right, easier to run that. So that way I can do npm run dev, and I can open another one, npm run trigger. All right, so this is using ng-rock, which is really cool. Basically a tunneling service. And yeah, so this is really cool because your jobs already show up here. Like it's connected to your account here, and it can tell that your setup was done, and you even have this job, this example job here. So if I go to source jobs, right, then you get this as an example, which is this one here. All right, so yeah, which is very cool. This is running. All right. Okay, so that's done. Let's see, what else do we need to do? I think we can just commit all of this. Postgres we need to set up as well. So Milvus and trigger. I think it's fine to just commit all of that. Okay, and then the last one is, I'm just going to do that, and I need a Postgres image, which I'm going to just grab from a project here. I just need this here. So this is an old Docker Compose. I actually might as well do something like this. Then I'll just delete this file. Okay, so this is basically an old Docker Compose file for a Django project. All right, I don't think we need anything else there. We just need to make sure we have all these folders and files that are required for this, which is like the .envs and all of that. So let me just double check we have all of this. Okay, let's do it like this. It's going to be .env.db. Then I'm just going to go and bring this file in here. You know what? Easier to just create a new one. Paste this all here. Okay. So these are the environment variables for the database. This is going to be, let's do combat training Postgres. All right. The Docker file path, I'm going to need to change as well. You know what I actually want to do is just use a Docker image, Postgres image. See what the latest one is. So 16, I think we can just go with that. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay. With all of that, let's go and try this out. So go go into services. I think I can just do that. .env.db. I'm just going to put that in there. All right. And yeah, this will then set up our Postgres image for us, or container rather. And so now we'll have Postgres. Now I need to just configure the Prisma. So if we go to Prisma, this I'm not going to need. Okay, this needs to now be changed to Postgres. So let's just go here to the docs to confirm this. I also think quite a bit of this syntax might actually change. Yeah. So let's just go like that. Okay. Probably no. This is next auth. I'm copying the wrong thing. Need to go to Prisma. Yeah. SQLite uses text uppercase. Okay. Let's just make sure that this setup for Postgres is correct. All right, so provider is PostgreSQL. Note when using MySQL or that, uncomment the DB. Okay, that's fine. And client looks fine. This table, example table, we'll obviously remove. And then this is all the next auth stuff. So I think that's fine. The database URL then needs to change from being a file to being the actual database URL, which is going to be, because now this is created, but it's going to be based off of our DB credentials here. I actually didn't set a port, so I should probably do that. So let's just do this here. Ports. We're going to do 5432, and I just make it like ridiculous because there's too many databases. So then like this, it'll run on a port that's unique. So let's just go here. Okay. I think I actually just got the order here wrong. It's 54301 on my machine. So let's try this again. User is, I should also just open this up. Then I don't have to do this every time. User combat training user. Five, 4, 3, 0, 1. There we go. Show all databases. Combat training is the database I want. Display name of the connection. Combat training. All right. Okay. Database is connected here. Credentials are here. Let's just add this to .env. So this is going to be, if we go grab the URL structure here, it's going to be like this. Okay, so PostgreSQL combat training user password 54301 combat training. Next is to run npm run push, db push. Yeah, db push. Let's see that works. Okay. All right, so that's in sync. Okay, if you show PostgreSQL Explorer, that is probably what I want to do here. Can remove this one. Combat training, public. And there we go. Finally. Okay. So we can see all the tables here. We have the account table, example, session, user. All right. So Postgres database is configured. And let's see, what else did we configure here? We got, yeah, I think that's basically it. Okay, so this was it's a little bit long. Let's just bring this up. All right, so that's done. This is done. Trigger's done. Gone through the architecture here. I haven't configured a connection to the vector DB yet, so I'll just do that in the next one. But now, at least the majority of the infrastructure and all the tools and stuff are set up, so I can get started with the next step, which is to, well, I mean, there's a bunch of next steps, but like connecting to the vector DB would be nice. And then building out a simple UI to just add to like select a GitHub repository. I think that would be a good next step. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next session.